Picture this. The crowd is roaring. Your opponent is hurt. Victory seems certain. You smile, raise your hands, maybe even dance a little. But then, disaster strikes. The fight isn't over and your moment of triumph becomes your downfall. In the world of fighting, nothing is final until the referee waves it off, the bell rings, or someone taps out. Yet time and again, fighters have made the costly mistake of celebrating too early. These moments aren't just embarrassing, they're lessons in focus, humility, and the razor-thin line between victory and defeat. This essay examines 10 patterns of premature celebration that have cost fighters victories, pride, and sometimes entire careers. These stories reveal something deeper than just sports mishaps. They show us the human tendency to claim victory before we've truly earned it. The showboat who got humbled. Anderson Silva had been untouchable for 7 years. He loved to showboat, dropping his hands and daring opponents to hit him. At UFC 162, facing Chris Weidman, Silva was doing what he always did, taunting, dancing, backing up against the cage with his hands down. But this time, Weidman stayed calm and patient. In the second round, as Silva leaned back to dodge what he thought was another harmless combination, Weidman's left hook found its mark. Silva dropped unconscious, his 7-year reign ending in the most shocking fashion. The lesson was brutal. No matter how good you are, respect your opponent until the final second. The fighter who climbed too soon. At UFC 134, Rousimar Palhares dropped Dan Miller with a head kick and followed up with punches. Convinced he'd scored a knockout, Palhares suddenly stopped fighting, jumped on the cage, and flexed for the Brazilian crowd. There was just one problem. Referee Herb Dean had never stopped the fight. When Dean pulled Palhares down and told him to keep fighting, Miller immediately rocked him with a hard right uppercut that nearly turned the tables completely. Palhares eventually won by decision, but he'd almost snatched defeat from the jaws of victory. The pointing problem. In countless boxing and MMA matches, fighters have made the mistake of showboating mid-fight. They point at opponents, smile at the crowd, or drop their hands thinking they're in complete control. The pattern is always the same. One moment of carelessness, one clean shot, and suddenly the showboat is the one getting counted out. The most painful part? These knockouts usually happen to fighters who were actually winning before they got cocky. Mid-fight trash talk gone wrong. Some fighters can't resist talking trash or staring down their opponents mid-fight. They'll land a good shot, then stand there pointing or talking instead of following up. This gives hurt opponents crucial seconds to recover, and sometimes to turn the fight around entirely. The unwritten rule of fighting: finish first, talk later. The walk-away that backfired. Walk-off knockouts look incredible when they work. A fighter lands a perfect shot, turns away confidently, and walks to the corner, while their opponent crumbles behind them. But when the opponent isn't actually finished, this becomes one of the most embarrassing mistakes in combat sports. The referee decides when fights end, not the fighters. When the clock flies. Time can be deceiving in a loud arena. Some fighters have celebrated what they thought was the end of a round, only to realize they still had precious seconds left to fight. In those moments of dropped guard, opponents have landed fight-changing shots. The clock doesn't lie, but emotions can make fighters deaf to it. The submission that wasn't. Grappling matches have seen fighters release submission holds too early, thinking their opponent was unconscious or had tapped when they hadn't. The finished fighter then escapes and sometimes reverses the entire situation. In submissions, the rule is simple. Hold until the referee physically separates you. Falling for the acting. Some crafty fighters have been known to play possum, acting more hurt than they really are to lure opponents into relaxing. When the celebrating fighter drops their guard, the injured opponent explodes back into action. Never trust what you see in a fight. Trust only what the referee confirms. The coast that cost everything, perhaps the most common form of premature celebration, isn't dancing or taunting. It's simply slowing down. Fighters who think they're ahead on the scorecards sometimes coast through later rounds, only to lose decision victories they thought were secure. Judges score what they see, not what happened earlier. The noise that deceived. Arena noise can be deafening, especially in emotional fights. Some fighters have mistaken crowd reactions for round-ending bells or referee stoppages. In those confused moments, they've dropped their guard and been caught by opponents who knew the fight was still ongoing. When in doubt, keep fighting until someone in an official shirt tells you to stop. The deeper meaning behind these moments. These stories aren't just about fighting. They're about human nature. They reveal what happens when confidence becomes arrogance, when focus wavers at critical moments, and when we assume victory before we've truly earned it. The universal lessons. Stay humble. No matter how well things are going, respect the process and your opponent. Finish strong. Don't ease up until the job is completely done. Focus on the present. Past success doesn't guarantee future victory. Respect authority. Let officials make official decisions. Control your emotions. Excitement can cloud judgment at crucial moments. The psychology of getting ahead of ourselves. Despite countless examples of early celebration backfiring, fighters keep making the same mistakes. Why? Because in the heat of battle, emotions run high, adrenaline flows. The crowd's energy is intoxicating. In those moments, even the most disciplined athletes can lose their composure. It's human nature, but it's also human nature to learn from these mistakes. When confidence meets calculation. Not all showboating ends badly. Some fighters use controlled taunting as a tactical weapon to frustrate opponents or entertain crowds while maintaining their guard. The key difference? They never stop being ready to fight. The best showboat artists understand that entertainment and effectiveness can coexist, but only when skill backs up the swagger. The eternal lesson of earned victory. Fighting, like life, isn't over until it's truly over. These stories of premature celebration serve as powerful reminders that success requires sustained effort, constant vigilance, and respect for both the process and your opponents. Whether you're in a cage, a boardroom, or any competitive arena, the principle remains the same. Celebrate after you've won, not before. Because in any contest worth having, the moment you stop fighting is the moment you risk losing everything. The fight continues until the final bell, and so should your effort.